Okay then, so 3 quick questions to check you've remembered what we looked at last lesson. So how was Mrs. Berlin involved in the death of Eva Smith? Does she take responsibility? And which dramatic device is used at the end of Act 2? So today's lesson is all about recapping Act 1 and Act 2, as next lesson you are going to be sitting an assessment for me. It's never ideal to ask students to complete assessments during lockdown, but obviously I need to know what you've learned and what you've not learned so far. It's only a question paper, so it just asks you lots of questions about the acts, and you just have to answer on the sheet and then send it back to me. So today is all about revising the information you're going to need for that assessment on Friday. So, can you find the 5 boxes that explain the plot in Act 1? Now, obviously, I understand if you're at home, this is going to be slightly more difficult, because if we were in school, I'd print it out, and you'd cut it out, which is exactly what the kids in school can do. So, if you're at home, what I want you to do is I'd like you to number the boxes, so you can number them in whichever you want, where you want to, and then you can write down in your book for me which numbers you think are the 5 boxes that explain the plot in Act 1. So this should take about 10 minutes, because obviously you've got quite a lot of information to read, and you need to be picking out the 5 boxes that you think explain Act 1. Okay then, so the answers are on my board. So these are the 5 boxes that explain what has happened in Act 1, okay? So Mr. Berlin conducts several lengthy monologues referring to many important historical events. Inspector Gore reveals that a woman has died, and he questions Mr. Berlin about her time working at his factory. We are introduced to the Berlins on the eve of Sheila Berlin and engagement to Gerald Croft. The maid Edna announces that there is a visitor, Inspector Gore, and the audience learns how Sheila Berlin and Eva Smith had Eva Smith fired from her next job. In a fit of jealous anger, she shows deep regret. So now that you've picked out the 5, for the next task, you need to organise them into the correct order that they happen in. So again, if you're at home, what you can do is you can number them. So obviously, depending on the numbers that you used last time, you might want to use different numbers this time. If you're in school, what you can do is move yours around now into the correct order in your books and then stick them down, okay? Okay then, so you should have organised them. So if you're in school, obviously now your task is going to be to make sure that they're stuck down in the right order. At home, I'm going to ask you to do a little bit more work, as I'd like you to copy these out, please, into your book into the correct order for me. So we are introduced to the Berlin family on the eve of Sheila Berlin's engagement to Gerald Croft. Mr. Berlin conducts several lengthy monologues about referring to the many important historical British events, the Titanic and the German War. The maid Edna announces that there is a visitor, Inspector Gore. Inspector Gore reveals that a woman has died. He questions Mr. Berlin about her time in the factory. And then the audience learns how Sheila Berlin had her fired from her next job. Okay? Then, so we're going to do exactly the same task for Act 2. So again, I'd like you to find the 5 boxes that explain the plot in Act 2, please. If you're at home, again, number them and pick out the correct numbers. If you're in school, print it out and cut them out, okay? So here are the answers. Make sure that you have a look through them and make sure that you mark yours. What I'd then like you to do is see if you can organise them into the order that they happen in the play, okay? So what happens in the first part of Act 2 in comparison to what happens at the end of it.